Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Does story mean much to you when it comes to Elite? Well, it's a question that comes up fairly often. Directly related to this subject, Frontier recently issued a short statement on the current situation with Galnet, the in-game's news service. As most will already know, last year Frontier reduced the amount of content being posted to Galnet, and yesterday they reiterated their position on this, offering a little more context, and we'll get to that in just a moment. First though, I want to briefly discuss what Galnet has meant and offered over the years. There's a lot of new players to the game, and they were not always necessarily there and around during the times of Galnet's height. So for many players, story and narrative are likely not the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about Elite. After all, throughout the entirety of the game, you find yourself situated in a lone ship, an unknown pilot whose impact upon the galaxy at large is minimal to non-existent. And to be fair, for many, that is the charm of Elite, existing as a small, inconsequential piece of the universe. The story of Elite then has often existed as a background tapestry, entirely separated from the players. Lore written by the game's developers and posted as articles for players to read. For people who enjoy these pieces, it adds immensely to the ebb and flow of the game world. It gives meaning to certain star systems and locations, puts a face on political leaders, and gives agendas to some of the corporations. In short, lore like this serves a function. It's a function that has been provided by the in-game news service Galnet, a sort of bulletin board where the developers post these various news stories. In the past, the frequency of the story releases had a nice cadence. And what's more, players could submit their own stories, which, if approved by Frontier, would then appear on Galnet. Throughout the years, the pacing and style of these stories has certainly changed, with 2015 offering many articles, and the later years linking certain articles, most notably those of the Thargoid's contact, with actual events in-game. Related to Galnet, of course, are community goals and interstellar initiatives, and most of you will be aware well of these, but keeping in mind that many players have joined the game recently, community goals and interstellar initiatives are community-driven missions with a global objective. All players would be able to accept the community goal as a mission and contribute towards its outcome, whether that was the delivery of materials, combat-focused outcomes, or exploration-themed. Now, in the past, some of the community goals were particularly stand out, such as the movement of the starport Jacques Station to the middle of the galaxy, and the subsequent creation of Colonia, a community goal created by Frontier and expanded upon with player-led interaction. For the players who enjoy the story that Elite offered, these are the things that come to mind. In recent times, Frontier have called things such as community goals and interstellar initiatives to a temporary end, or as in the case with Galnet, they have seriously reduced the output. So on to yesterday's statement from Frontier then. After an open post to the forums posted by a Commander Kaizen, or Kaizen, I apologise if you got your name wrong, offering a number of suggestions to Galnet, Frontier responded, clarifying their position on the current status of Galnet. For the full post, do check the link in the video description, but to summarise here, Frontier cited two main issues. Firstly, that many players were mistakenly believing that the lore articles posted to Galnet were indicating physical events in-game, and this led players to go on a fruitless search of whatever the article might have been discussing. And secondly, and perhaps more importantly, Frontier cited resources as being an issue. Both the upcoming release of fleet carriers, along with the work on the 2020 paid update, have taken up the majority of the writing team's time, and this has led to a reduced availability for Galnet. Frontier went on to express that they understand why people are concerned, but they have no plans for changing the current situation. So naturally, this leaves Elite in a very different place to previous years. Yet, as a counterpoint to this, there are undoubtedly a lot of people who rarely, if ever, actually paid any attention to Galnet. And this brings me back to the opening point of, for many players, story and narrative are likely not the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about Elite. And it seems very likely indeed that many players will continue playing the game just as they always have, pursuing their own activities. After all, Galnet rarely, if ever, directly affected the player. It's often been said that the Elite Galaxy doesn't care about the player is just one small part. But the reverse can also be true. The player can quite easily pursue their own activities without caring one bit for the game's world. After all, it rarely gives a player cause to actually care. But equally, that said, there were thousands of players who actively got involved with the community goals and interstellar initiatives, so it's reasonable to assume that there's also a high number of players that read Galnet and will miss that content. Maybe at some point there will be a return to the previous levels of content from Galnet, either with the current format or maybe a new format at some point when Frontier's staff's resources free up. But then again, maybe it won't. The truth is that without Galnet, community goals and interstellar initiatives, Elite is a far emptier place. And even with the limited recent supply of articles, Elite is becoming a game which is at odds with its own lore. And this is something that will be very apparent to people who closely follow the game's lore. One such example is the lack of presence of the Pilots Federation, arguably one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. Sure, they have a faction, and sure, they're in Shinrata Deseret, the Founder's World, but really, their impact upon the galaxy is minimal to non-existent, and according to the lore, that really shouldn't be the case. And there's many other examples where the lore is equally contrary to what's going on in the game. Now, as to Frontier's point of people chasing down forced leads based upon Galnet stories, this is very easily overcome by a simple disclaimer tag attached to the story, explaining that it's simply a lore piece. But whilst it's clear that Frontier's main concern is the availability of the writing team and the associated resources, if and when that does return, an expanded Galnet with articles from different fictional publications would be a nice solution. A publication for background lore, another one for in-game events, and yet another for player community-run events, and this would very easily and naturally keep all players on the same page. But beyond the current issues with Galnet though, there remains another distinct possibility, and that is, it's possible the new paid update coming at the end of 2020 will bring a significant change to the game, rendering the current Galnet redundant. If that is indeed the case, and that's pure speculation, it would certainly explain a lot of things. Do let me know your thoughts and feelings on Galnet in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.